Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women in Security Navigate Her Coffee Chat series. I'm Beth Anderson, and alongside me is my co-chair, Emma Barkley. We're thrilled you've joined us today for a relaxed, candid conversation about building successful careers in security. Our goal is to connect you with inspiring stories, practical insights, and real-world advice from leading women in the field. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emma Barkley, and this is another Women in Engineering series brought to you by Women in Security Forum and the Navigate Her group. Today, we are joined with the wonderful ladies of Security by Design. Well, two of them, because we're going to honor their mother, Lorna, who is not present with us, but we will do a separate recording with her as well. So, Chrissy, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Chrissy McCutcheon. I'm a president and senior consultant at Security by Design. I worked for the company during the summers in high school and early college, and then I joined the Air Force in 2020 as a reservist. So big break from SBD, and I rejoined in 2013.
Awesome. How about yourself, Hanna?
I'm Hanna Pack, and I am an implementation consultant / senior consultant at Security by Design. I acted as a receptionist back, when I was just graduated high school. And then I moved to Oregon and did something completely different. So I rejoined the company in 2009, and I intended to stay for a few years.
Very nice. So again, this is a very special edition because we have two sisters, and this is our Mother's Day edition of Women in Engineering. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions, and then we're really going to go into the crux of honoring your mother, as this is our Mother's Day episode. So Chrissy, you started your career in the military. What led you down that path?
I felt like I needed a break from college. So most people at Chico State that took a break never ended up going back. So I decided that having a change that would give me some money for college and finishing up my degree would be a good change of pace. And then I picked a job where I could only take, I could get through basic training in tech school and only miss one semester of college. And so then I buckled down when I got back and made sure that I could still graduate on time, taking 18 to 21 units each semester. And it ended up graduating on time with my major in communication design with the option in media arts and a minor in criminal justice.
Very nice. Very nice. So I think we could all use a little break from college with all the studies, right?
Yeah.
So what skills or mindset from your military experience show up most in your work today?
So the job I ended up starting my military career with was called Command Post, which is pretty much like a security operations center. And in that, I learned about managing emergency situations, developing and running standard operating procedures, utilizing video systems, managing access control systems. I was evaluating, clearances for everybody and tracking who's allowed into different areas. And so a lot of that helped with me supporting my clients in a way that, understanding them from a client standpoint. And then as my career in the military progressed, I also became a government contractor for a while as a security analyst. And during that time, I was involved with designing multiple SCIFs. And so all of those skills led to security design being a thing. And so,
yeah, no, that's a great skill set to have because you have the approach of that end user and you can bring it kind of full circle and understand what your clients need, right? So,
yeah.
So what was that defining moment when you knew you wanted to bring that experience into the family business?
There was a lot of restructuring, and I had a couple of young kids, and working as a government contractor as my full-time job was relatively unstable because a lot of the contracts I was in charge of the industrial security program, meaning that I was tracking the contracts, and a lot of the contracts, including my own, would go within a few days of their their contract end date before they might be renewed or transition to a different company. And I decided that wasn't the stability that I wanted for my life. So I figured since I'd gone completely away from security by design and ended up doing security design in the military. So it just kind of made sense to come back into the family business at that point.
No, absolutely. Yes. So, and you brought new insights and key capabilities there. So, Hanna, your background is in studio art. How did that journey ultimately lead you into security?
Well, I also took a non-traditional path through college. So I did a year of college, and then I got married, and then I had to work to help support myself, and I also was going to school. So we moved up to Oregon, and I had a job as a receptionist, and I had several receptionist jobs. At one point, I had like 5 receptionist jobs at the same time. It was pretty crazy. Well, I guess 3 receptionist jobs and 2 other jobs. But in any case, so I started off with that, and then my, design sense and whatnot, I started doing print ad design, and that led to website design. And so I got pretty into that. I moved back to California, got a job doing a combination of tech support and web design. So all the time I was going to college, but I really hadn't pursued that as a career. So
yeah. So with that, kind of technical background, kind of came full circle, I guess, in coming in back to the family business and with security, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that's when I rejoined Security by Design, I was joining to do marketing related stuff, manage the website, do proposals, those kind of things. But as I was there, I became more interested in continuing with the technical skills. So I actually built the billing program that we use now, although it's been a few years and it definitely needs updating. But and then at one point we had an opening for somebody to take over our in-house lab, and I was really interested, and I asked if I could take that on. So
no, those are great ways of kind of, again, just like Chrissy, bringing it full circle, right? And bringing those assets into the business. So how does art play a role in security that people might not immediately recognize?
So I think one of the biggest pieces, and I think this is kind of common to probably everybody in the family, is I really love problem solving. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times art is about problem solving. I had one particular assignment in college. We had to do 50 pounds of something and make it an art project. So you can imagine there are about 50 million ways to solve that. And, security is very much like that. There are a lot of different ways to solve the problem. Some are going to be a lot better than others, but there's not necessarily one way to make things work. And it's always exciting and challenging to try to find something that is, that's going to work just a little better than whatever you did last time, or solve for the actual human problems that people are experiencing.
No, for sure. And I think when you look at art and you think of the problem solving in art, but also the creativity, it all comes from human emotion and feelings. And in security, we're dealing with that a lot, right? In how we're approaching that human behavior, whether it is keeping people safe or reacting to negative things in our environment. And you can see a lot of that reflected both in our aspect, but art, and it helps bringing that creativity into design is really going to create that well-rounded plan for your customers. So now I have a few questions for both of you. So looking at your two paths side by side, how do they complement each other inside the business? So Chrissy, I'll start off with you.
Yeah, so in the military, I spent a lot of time personnel management, dealing with, briefing commanders on issues, and just dealing with people at all levels of organizations. So I feel like I have really strong people skills in terms of, dealing with the employees and the clients and doing the communication, understanding where different people are coming from. So a lot of it is kind of translating. In military, everybody uses their own jargon. Security industry is not much different, but you have clients and IT and the security integrators and all the architects, all the different people kind of have their own ways of talking through things. And so I have a lot of ability to help them communicate more effectively and make sure that everybody's on the same page. Also, understanding designs and how the designs impact organizations from an operational standpoint. And so that's super useful as a consultant, design consultant. And then Hanna brings technical knowledge, so the implementation consultant and understanding, the nitty-gritties and computer programming. I took one computer programming class in college and it didn't go so well. So that's not my skill set. And so I rely heavily on Hanna when it comes to how things work together. I understand basic concepts of network design and things like that, but the nitty-gritty of getting everything configured properly, I need Hanna's technical knowledge for those sort of things.
No, that's awesome. That's a great way to complement each other. Hanna, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I was going to say, I do love getting into the weeds and, getting into that nitty gritty stuff. And I really appreciate that Chrissy is able to focus on the larger picture sometimes, because I can get so deep in the weeds that I forget where we're where we're trying to go. So it's really helpful to have somebody who's got their eye on the ball like that, and it lets me do what I do well. And we both bring those skill sets on a very complementary basis.
No, that's perfect. That's a great story of sisterhood and also business partnership, right? Is recognizing your strengths and then utilizing the other to kind of fill in those gaps and directly complement one another. So neither of you followed a traditional path into security. Most people don't, right? I definitely didn't. But what does that say about the future of security design or engineering, as well as security careers for women? Do you think it's going to start following a direct path, or do you think we're going to see more of the same, which is not the traditional path into security?
I would say that it's more of the same, right? So people are going to come from all sorts of different backgrounds. A lot of people kind of fall into security. We were kind of born into security, but took roundabout ways, right? But any background is really viable, and actually having all of those various different diverse backgrounds helps organizations think about challenges differently. So I think it's better, there are some colleges now that are kind of developing security related degree programs. But I think that anytime you have that and it's a very structured program, then everybody's getting the same education and you're not going to have as many like outside the box creative ideas.
How about you, Hanna?
I would also agree that I don't think that's going to change a whole lot. People do come in for various reasons. I would say it might be worthwhile for a lot of companies to not search for somebody who already has X, Y, and Z. A lot of times when we're recruiting, we don't look for people in the security industry. I mean, that's helpful sometimes too, but but we'll look outside the security industry for people with other kinds of skills who are interested and want to learn. That's, the number one piece. And like Chrissy said, people who come from different backgrounds bring different skills. I mean, that's a known quantity as far as, hiring both men and women, hiring people with different ethnic backgrounds, and religious backgrounds. Any kind of difference in your background could lead to having a new insight that somebody else may not have. So so I don't think also that there's just that much understanding of physical security as an industry outside of the industry. People don't even think of it. So unless something major changes, I don't see it coming from somewhere else.
No, and you brought up a great point. Diversity of thought is so critical when it comes to security. We're not dealing with one human persona. We're dealing with a lot of different human behaviors, as well as all different walks of life of individuals. And so it is critical to have those different people offering their input in order to impact a security design and really look at systematically everything as a whole, as opposed to just little junkets that apply to one area of behavior, because you're going to have different behaviors. Have either of you encountered any moments where being a woman shaped your experience in the industry positively or negatively? Hanna, I'll start with you.
Well, I think we've all had various different things. The number one situation that you mostly call out as a woman is getting quick bathroom access.
Yes, that's critical. Yeah.
The times that I've been the only woman or one of two women or something in a class, so, and sometimes I would say that the security industry has come a long way since Lorna started. So generally speaking, most people are very nice. I've had situations where, a trainer says, "Oh, I can't make that joke." That's the kind of, so it does make you feel a little bit called out, but it's not intended in a negative way.
No, absolutely. I think you'll realize that the more that you look at the growing of women in the industry, like you said, we've always had quick bathroom access because there's not many of us. But I do think that there's been a lot of positivity. And sometimes the negative comments just come from ignorance, right? Or from a different generation. So Chrissy, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I would say, on the negative side, there have been times when Hanna and I are in a meeting or on technical calls, and one or both of us will say something, but nobody seems to hear it until a male says the exact same thing. But that's really led me to, tapping into more of my military persona and having a stronger voice in meetings. Like if we aren't being heard, then I'll jump in like, no, hey, everybody, this is this. And it's led to a dramatic change. If I start to see that, then I can change the trajectory of the meeting. And then all of a sudden they'll start listening more. Like, oh, you're right. Hanna did say that. And so that helps. And then there's other instances where, in a kind of a positive way, but I feel like I'm selected for key roles due to being a woman to share different perspectives. So I don't think it's a negative thing. It's like, there are some advisory boards or councils where I'm one of the only women in the room providing perspectives. So I think that that's a positive thing and is kind of helping get women out there in general in the industry in a more visible role.
No,
I did
absolutely. Yeah.
I did have So I just want to share a conversation I had with a former coworker. We were talking about, women in the industry, feminism, and various things. And he asked why, given our family background, I had never considered going into integration. And I just never considered it. I don't know why. I think it would have been very interesting to try it, and it probably could have been more lucrative than some of my early jobs, but it just never occurred to me. So that's something that I think we do need to consider, is how do we make things more obviously possible, and just being a role model that is visible, which is not what I like to do, but Chrissy's better at that than I am. But just being a visible role model in different roles can, I think, just put the idea in someone's head that something is a possibility.
Absolutely. So you guys both touched on some great things there. So I think what you just said, Hanna, we like to see ourselves in other people. And so we are the magazine culture, doesn't matter what type of fashion you are, we like to see ourselves in other people's fashion, or we like to, express ourselves via our clothing. I don't think men really do that as much as women do, right? And so same thing goes for jobs, right? We look at that. Seeing a woman in integration as opposed to other roles, but even design. I mean, there's not many women. You go into a room, you guys are still very much in the minority, right? So it's critical to have those voices and be there. And maybe it's just being present, right, Hanna? You don't have to be at the forefront of it, but just being there, and even being willing to have this interview with me is showing, a role model to somebody else. So, and then Chrissy, you mentioned empowering your sister, listen to us, right? Here's my voice. I think that is so critical. We have to empower the people at the table for the other individuals to take us seriously. And we will get that change. It's just persistency. So we have to be persistent in that. And then the other thing you mentioned was being on some of those panels and knowing you're probably being selected because you're a woman, but also taking advantage of that, because we're never going to create change if we don't take advantage of those opportunities. Even if we were granted that as a female, we're going to work to prove our capabilities on those panels and showcase what we're capable of doing. And that's going to set the example to see growth and probably see 2 or 3 more women on those panels and more of that diversity of thought. So all of those things are very critical. So now on to the special part of today's coffee chat, which is really honoring your mother for Mother's Day. Your mother, Lorna, also works at Security by Design. How did her career influence the way each of you think about work and leadership? Chrissy, I'll start with you.
She really helped me see how being in a leadership or ownership type role provides options and choices that you might not otherwise have. And she's also been really supportive of employees, both, for personal issues that come up or training. We have a number of employees that started off as receptionists, like Hanna was talking about, being a receptionist and then coming back as a implementation, and then marketing, and then implementation consultant. We have some employees that started off as receptionists and they're now in our drafting field. And I also started as a receptionist, and I'm now one of the principals. So, supporting employees, providing, training, reimbursement, stuff like that. And so understanding that if you treat people well, then they'll want to stay. We have one person that just hit his 29th year with the company. We have other people, over 25 years. So we have a really good longevity of our people. And even Hanna, who was only planning on being with SPD for a few years, is still here, from 2009 to 2026. It's, we have ways of keeping people and satisfied with their jobs. So I want to continue.
Yeah, that's a great tribute to your mom, and wanting to have that people element, right? And make sure that it's a great culture overall. So Hanna, you want to add anything there?
I've talked to my mom over the years about the ways that she tries to bring out the best skills. She tries to help people move in the directions that interest them and take advantage of things that they enjoy doing and also help the company. And that's always been really special to me, seeing how she really cares about people. She's really been very influential also in terms of just the behind the scenes stuff. We have excellent benefits, quite honestly, and that is all her. It's all her because she said, if I'm paying my employees to have health insurance, if I'm paying them and they're paying for their health insurance, then it's just the same as if I'm paying for the health insurance, for example. So we don't pay any out of our paycheck for our health insurance. And that's very unusual, honestly. She wanted to make sure that we have enough sick leave, that if something pretty severe happens, that we can take care of it. And so we have a very generous sick leave policy. So she, aside from being a very good security consultant, I mean, she has had a CPP since 1984, right? She's been doing it all for a long time.
Yeah, no. And with that, what lessons have you learned, Hanna, from watching her balance family, career, and responsibility?
I think what I've learned is that when you're there, when you're at home, hopefully you can be present at home. And even if you're not there all the time, it's, making special times with your family is going to make a big difference to them, more so than necessarily being with them every moment. And I also appreciated that, she had opportunities to go places and learn things and be intellectually stimulated. When I had a child, I definitely knew that I was not going to be a stay-at-home parent. So I appreciated that she was a professional. She put a lot of time into her work and a lot of time into her family. We always ate dinner together unless somebody was on an actual business trip.
No, that's terrific. I mean, I also was not made to be a stay-at-home mom. I think I set a better example for my children because I work, right? But when I'm present or after work hours, of course, that is their time, right? I try to give them that time. I can always pick it up when I'm on that work trip or after they go to bed. I think us as women, we spend a lot of long hours because we're balancing all of it, right? But yes, no, it's great to have that family aspect where you're having that family meal, but then it's also nice to have that adult time and be present at business. So, Chrissy, do you have anything to add there as well?
I'd say, I saw that it can be challenging to balance. But so sometimes they took us to, it's GSX now, but ASIS back in the day, right? And it's always around my birthday. So there were a lot of years where they were gone over my birthday, but sometimes, for my 10th birthday, they took us to Atlanta with us, and I got to spend time with family there and go traveling and go to Epcot Center and stuff in Florida. So, they tried to do, like, even if work interrupted stuff, they'd still try to include us when they could. She took the time to be my coach back when I did Odyssey of the Mind. So that's Destination Imagination these days, and that's what my kids did. So it was kind of fun, like bringing that full circle. And there was one time when I had crazy allergy thing and I had to go on a 9-item elimination diet for a week while we were on vacation, and she went on that diet with me, which was like horrible. I mean, like, salt was one of the 9 items. Like, it was like super limited stuff and very bland blah food, but she did it with me.
Yeah. What a great example, and things that those are little memories that you'll never forget, right? That she took that time to go into the trenches with you, right? Make those sacrifices that weren't necessarily fun, but show you, hey, we can do it together. And so that's a great segue into kind of my next question to you, Chrissy, is at what moment did you realize you were no longer just learning from your mom and that you were actually working alongside her as a peer?
I don't feel like there was a specific moment. It was really like as soon as I came back to SBD, we were just instantly peers. Like, we just, treated each other as coworkers, and it was just easy, just another person at the office.
How about you, Hanna?
Yeah, I think for me it took a few years because I was in a different role. But once I really got into running the lab and learning more about the systems, I became that subject matter expert for everybody. And it became more apparent that I was, a key source of information. We could both rely on each other for that kind of thing. So.
No, absolutely. So I'm going to kind of skip around these other questions. So what's something about her leadership that people outside the family might never see? Hanna, I'll start with you.
I don't know if people really know the depth of how much she looks into the professional development of everybody around her. I'm not sure if that is apparent to everyone. So that's probably the number one thing for me.
How about you, Chrissy?
I would say it's really what Hanna touched on earlier with how she makes sure employees are really well taken care of, and the concept that if you provide good health coverage, they'll be able to use it and stay healthier. So we have Kaiser, which is the whole concept is preventative maintenance, not treating the problem. Like, obviously they'll treat if they need to, but it's way more focused on the front end and doing your oil changes in your car to make sure that you don't have engine problems. So it's really that sort of focus, is treating people well up front so that they are healthier and more capable of performing work consistently.
No, that's so important, right? Again, it's the human element. Work is one part of it, but if you can be a betterment in their lives as well, that's critical, right? And it goes back to also that balance question, right? You need that healthy balance, but to take away that worry, it allows you to have that healthy balance. Chrissy, what does it mean to honor your mother this Mother's Day through the work you do together?
I'd say it's wonderful to be able to honor her. She's worked really hard to, make sure that we had everything we needed without being too spoiled. All of our friends in high school on their 16th birthday got a car. Like one of my friends was complaining because she got a used Lexus, and that just wasn't the way that she raised us. It was, okay, you can have use of our car and then earn your way to getting your own car when the time comes. But it helped us understand, like, life isn't just handed to you. You need to earn it, work for it. But I'd say, we grew up in a great neighborhood, super low crime rate. And like Hanna said, we, always had meals at home together as a family. family house in Tahoe. Like, we didn't have a rough life, but like we were a little bit spoiled, just not crazy spoiled. So it's nice that, she's worked hard, and we can honor her for all that she's done for us.
I think that's great. My family was very much the same. I had to work 2 jobs in high school to get my car and pay for my car insurance and other things of that sort. And my parents called it, "We'll give you what you need, not necessarily what you want." And there's plenty of spoiling in there. I mean, I'm still incredibly grateful and blessed for the things that my family gave me. Just like you said, your family gave you some amazing things as well. So you weren't without, but it was the lessons that taught you hard work. And that's a great tribute to your family. So Hanna, what does it mean to you to honor your mother this Mother's Day and the work you do together?
Honoring my mother, she's always been a role model for me. When you are in 4th grade and you have to write who's your role model, who's your hero, I always picked my mom. She's smart, she's dedicated, she really cares about people. Those are qualities that I would love to emulate. I try to emulate every day. So I was gonna say, as far as, we were a little bit spoiled in some ways, obviously, but one of the big things in our family was doing chores together. We, when something needed to happen, everybody stepped in. It wasn't gendered. It wasn't just this person or that person. It was, everybody. We'd on a Saturday put on some fun music and clean the house together, so I really appreciated that in our family. And I think, we were very lucky that we, grew up in a family that had resources. But my mom was very cognizant that that is not the case for everybody. She came from a less affluent background herself, and of course her mom grew up during the Depression. So there's a lot of recognition of, everybody is just trying to do their best. It doesn't make someone a better person or a worse person, a particular income level, that sort of thing. So
no, that's beautiful. Absolutely. So what advice would you give to young women considering a career in engineering, security design, military art, that doesn't have a clear path yet in their career? Hanna, you want to start?
Sure. I actually, so I think there are various places that offer classes in low voltage electrical design. Our high school actually had some stuff like that back in the day, but I know a lot of schools have cut those things out, public schools. But that's, I think, just being interested in learning about different concepts is the number one skill that you need to have, more than knowing about, SEPTED or learning how to write code or any of those things. So, and I do think that it can be a little daunting if you don't know anyone in the industry already. So I would say maybe it would be helpful for people to look up, women in security, the American Society for Industrial Security, ASIS, working groups, meetup groups, that sort of thing, and see if you can, get some introductions.
Yeah, create your community. What about you, Chrissy?
I would say you can really get in the door at any level and then grow into a role that fits your skill sets as they develop. So like I was talking about earlier with the people that started off as receptionists, they get to see different roles within the organization and, start leaning towards certain things. And so, the ones that were interested in drafting, like they went to the local community college and took a drafting class and then became drafters. So anything where, a lot of people get their start as a security guard for an organization, and then maybe they'll move into the GSOC and then they'll be a GSOC manager. If you start somewhere, any level, then you can see what else is out there.
Yeah, everybody has to start somewhere, right? And I think I love the idea of programs that work with the security guard that, help them expose them to other different parts of their career where this can take them, because they're getting that frontline experience, just like you did with military, and seeing that side of the end user experience that's helped propel you to where you are today. I think that is so critical. So I think a lot of you got to start somewhere, but you can always grow and you can always learn. So I have two more questions for you guys. How do you hope that Security by Design reflects the power of women working together across generations? So Chrissy, you want to start?
Say, even coming from the same family, we are all very different people and have very different skill sets. So I hope that it shows that, all the different skills can fit together like pieces of a puzzle. It's just something like we love to do together on our family time, is put together puzzles. And so it's like all of these pieces and parts, they don't have to overlap. They just connect together, fit well. And so we can have a complete picture at the end.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love puzzles. So, and what a great way to have to really reflect what you guys do as a business too, is a puzzle, as you're putting together a broader picture. So Hanna, how about yourself?
So I think working together across generations, especially, you kind of expect it with sons and fathers. That's a traditional path for a lot of people. And we do have a brother, and he does not work for the company. He's gone a totally different direction, which is great, actually. In fact, I think as a landscape architect, he's done projects in tandem with Security by Design a couple of times. But knowing who your family is, and having those different skill sets, if you can make them mesh together and trust each other, that makes a huge difference. And I do think that it is kind of a beautiful thing that we get to, talk to each other every day and stay in touch. So that's what I would like to reflect is it is really great when you get to connect with multiple generations of your family in a way that most people never see their own family.
Yeah, in an successful way too, right?
Right, exactly.
So, yeah.
I think some people would probably find it weird to have their younger sibling as effectively their boss, but it works actually really well for us. So
yes. So I want to close this up with really honoring your mother, and I know we're a little bit over time, so I appreciate you guys sticking with me. But if you had to describe your mother's influence in your lives, in your professional careers, or really to Security by Design, how would you describe that? So Chrissy, you want to start?
If it was, down to a single sentence, I'd say take care of your people.
How about you, Hanna?
I would say she's really influenced me in terms of having that professional confidence and knowing that I can be whoever I need to be if I have a goal in mind. So So that's what I would say about her influence.
No, that's beautiful. So I really appreciate both of your time. I think this is a great reflection on your mother's influence in your careers and in who you guys are as individuals. And I think this is a great way of kind of showing the industry also that the capabilities and the roundabout ways of getting to where you're going, but how it benefits truly your overall career. Again, what Chrissy said, you have to start somewhere, right? So, and I've seen you guys feed off of one another and empower each other, and your responses here is just so refreshing to see, and just shows how great of a family balance your mother has kind of created for you guys at Security by Design as well. So thank you. This is another episode of Women in Engineering. Join us next time here on the Security Industry Association YouTube page. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Emma Barkley, and this has been a NavigateHER Coffee Chat with my co-chair, Beth Anderson. We hope you found today's conversation inspiring and useful as you navigate your own path in security. Don't forget to subscribe or follow us for upcoming sessions, and feel free to reach out with feedback or topics you'd like to explore next. Until next time, keep learning, keep connecting, and keep leading.